right, let's start out with something kind of, hopefully this will be a little bit kind of sort of fun for you guys. I want y'all to think outside of the box. And part of being a recreation therapy practitioner, you have to kind of think about when we're doing an activity, what is our justification for doing it? What are our clients going to get from this activity? And sometimes, you know, like, what could they get from watching a movie? Sensory stimulation, working on attention span, you know, things like that. You got to think kind of outside of just what, you know, you think of watching a movie, well, they're just sitting there, they're sedentary, they're not really talking to anybody. But for different groups, you know, they could be actually working on some things like that. Like if you had someone that's on the autism spectrum, it may be a test for them to sit there for that long, or for a child that has a hard time being still. If you can get them to focus for longer, even if they don't make it the whole time, you're still working on their ability to like stay in their assigned area, stay on task for an amount of time, things like that. So what I'm going to do is share screen for the ones that aren't here. And we're going to go here. And then when that box disappears up here, I'm going to go here. And then I'm going to show y'all some pictures, which should be kind of fun. This is what we did last weekend with my boys. And they do a lot of things in these pictures. And I want y'all to think about, as we're going through this, if you were to do some of these activities with your clients, with your patients in different settings, what sort of things could they be working on? So I'm just going to kind of flip through some of the pictures and let you kind of think about, because, you know, when we're documenting what we do, we have to think about why we're doing it, you know. And sometimes you're going to do activities that are going to be, I'm just being honest with you, that are going to be mostly for fun, but you got to find some sort of justification in your paperwork to say, we did this, you know, we were trying to find social enjoyment, interaction. We also, you know, worked on upper body strength, and the, you know, certain things, you're going to find things that you can put down as positive intervention strategies that you were using. Okay. Even though primarily it was for fun, you know, so just think in that way and try to come up with, let me get that closed out. All right, so that was just going into this DeSoto Caverns. We were arrived, they had a water wheel deal there. That's my two little crazies that went with me. This is obviously my oldest one. He's gonna be like a scientist or something. And this little guy's gonna be my wild man, little baller. I can tell you, he's athletic as he can be. So that's, fingers crossed, maybe I'll have a scientist and a professional athlete, and they can take care of daddy when they get a little, you know, once they get a little older. That's my hope. All right, so this activity right here, this is something that you probably wouldn't do with your folks, but you have this group right here where they are, and then on the other side, you have a whole other group that have these same little cannons. And now they're holding two separate ones, but they were working together on one gun. And you're basically putting these soft balls and trying to shoot across at the other side. So what are some things that they might have been working on with this?
Communication skills.
Communication skills. Anything else jump to mind? I just said that they were working together. So cooperation, you know, teamwork, things like that. You had to pick up a ball. Like every time, you know, the balls are coming at you, you had to pick them up, load them in, aim, and then fire. So you're working with fingers, you're working with grabbing, you're working with, you know, hand-eye coordination, all sorts of things like that, just on this fun little activity. Just throwing these out there to give y'all just some ideas of how you can think of some of the things that you're doing for fun are actually touching on some things that your clients may need. Plus, I like showing off my kids. I'm not gonna lie. All right, there's another one, same deal. He's concentrating, you can tell he got the tongue out. All right, then they did some archery. What are some things that they could be working on here?
Upper body strength.
Upper body strength, absolutely. Anything else come to mind? I'll tell you what, when both of them hit the target, and when they did, they were both very happy. So we increased their mood, their confidence through that activity. I'm gonna shoot through these pretty quick. Same thing, just more of the same. Okay, this was a rock wall. This is what got me sore when I came back from the trip. You start on the left and you go to the right and you're just trying to go across this wall. And of course, he was a promising possum. This was on the way down, as you can tell, he was on the way down here. What would we be working with the rock wall? Upper body strength, lower body strength, core strength. What do you have to do to work your way across this thing? Planning, like critical thinking. Like he needed to realize that he couldn't step just to the next one, because then where's he going to put his left foot? You got to step across, and then you have a spot for your left foot to go. So your problem solving, things like that. Again, just thinking of how these things do apply. All these different little fun activities that these kids were doing have benefits that are, and this is all recreation, leisure-based stuff that they're doing. This one would be a lot more for just kind of for fun. I can't think of a lot. They did a little, you know, there were some sensory things here. They were panning for gems. They gave you this thing, you had to scoop it in the water, which took a little bit of, you know, hand-eye coordination. If you didn't do it right, you would just drop it in there. And then you're trying to sift the water over the sand and find what was in there. Visual acuity, maybe things like that, where they're looking for what they're supposed to be looking for. They both found treasures. They both said, we're going to be rich. They're wrong, but it was a good thought. All right, mini golf. What can we work on?
Concentration, hand-eye coordination.
Concentration, hand-eye coordination. Patience, absolutely. Especially for the big one, he was hitting it like out of the course multiple times. He's got to tone it down just a little bit. Anger management, absolutely. And I saw that in person. You have to, if you're playing, you know, most cases people keep score if they're going to play the full round. You're working on, you know, math, scorekeeping, counting your strokes as you go, things like that.
Honesty.
Honesty, absolutely. All right, let me mark her here. What we're doing, I'm number one, I'm showing off my kids from the trip we went on this weekend, and we're talking about all these little activities that they did, and we're thinking about think as a recreation therapist, what sort of benefits could they get from doing these activities that you just look at as being fun little activities for kids. You know, right here, they played putt-putt golf, and we were talking about the fact that as a recreation therapist, if you took a group to play putt-putt golf, they're going to work on turn taking, they're going to work on concentration, hand-eye coordination, muscle memory, keeping score, you know, doing the math, taking turns. There's so many things that can be addressed in just a fun little game like this. So just think outside the box when you're planning. Basketball. They both did pretty good on this too. I was proud of them here. What can we get out of this? Yeah, working on AIM, which is basically this wouldn't be fine motor skills. It would just be motor skills in general. Mood improvement, socialization if you have like a partner, competition if you make it into anger management. Yeah, again. Well, the problem was more like the person next to him was doing really bad and the ball came and hit one of them in the face. So that's when anger management happened. So yeah, that'll do it too. Let's see, what else? Oh, there's my little one. You can tell that one went in. Of course, it was waist high for me, so it should have gone in, but still. Okay, they were hot, needed some water. When you have your recreation clients in a warm environment, be sure to make sure that they rehydrate. No.
No.
But they had on long sleeves most of the time, except for when this very middle part of the day it warmed up. We generally don't want to do this with our patients. You'll get in trouble for that most of the time. All right, here they are on the train. This would just be relaxation, sightseeing, being comfortable in an enclosed space, maybe for someone who has troubles with that. And you see where I'm going with this, that you can come up with validation for a lot of different activities. So what I want you to see is it really opens up what you can do. Don't put yourself in a box with just a few little activities you can do, because you can do these different things and justify them as recreation therapy if you're actually working on those specific things. All right, there's the train. There's my dude with the hand out. He wanted to make sure I saw him for sure. All right, let's see what else. Okay, then we went in the cave. These are just be kind of for fun for the most part. The cave is awesome. It's just on the other side of Birmingham. If anybody ever just wants to do like a fun little weekend trip or something, I'd highly recommend this place. It was a lot of fun. Beautiful cave, lots of crazy stuff. This wall was just kind of amazing looking. Like there was a place like this you could get under, and if you looked from underneath, maybe I was just really hungry, but it looked like bacon to me. I called it the bacon wall because that's what it looked like. This case, you're working on, you can get education. They were actually getting a tour. So they were being told about different things in the cave. They had different lights in different areas. That's, some sensory stimulation, visual stimulation activity. Just more of the cave. This is where stalactites come from the top, stalagmites come from the bottom. This is where this picture, they're actually meeting together in the middle, which was kind of cool. There's just part of the group. I'll skip that. This was actually, there was a waterfall thing falling from the top. They liked that spot. This is how we slept in the cave. That's my view from perched at night. That's coming in. That's how I felt at the end of the night after everything was over with. That was kind of the whole group. We had to sleep with a skeleton down there with us. His name was Bob. They said the last people to clear out in the morning would wake up with Bob in their sleeping bag. So that was motivating to most of the kids that were there. That was our humble abode for the night. This was just some weird stuff that looked like soaking wet, gooey, and white, and it was actually dry if you touched it, and we weren't supposed to touch it, but I'm not a rule follower all the time. Okay, then they did like a laser light show. You sit down in like these seats out there, and they do a laser light show. They play music with it. They have kind of tell stories about the cave, and they have different things shooting all over. One of them was patriotic in nature, you know, red, white, and blue, and it was like this flag goes over your head. It was really cool, very sensory stimulating, which would be good for a lot of clients who need that. My 2-year-old kind of needs that right now. He's sensory seeking. He's not on the spectrum or anything like that, but we had an OT assessment not long ago. He's delayed with his speech. Everything looks good. He's making a lot of progress, but his deal is he wants to touch everything, feel everything. He's sensory seeking. He would love like that. Well, either that or totally freak out because he's 2. You know what I mean? You never know what a 2-year-old is going to do. Almost done with this stuff. There's part of the show. They actually were shooting, water was shooting up, and they were shooting the lasers through it, which was kind of cool. And we're back to the top there. So I just wanted to take just a couple minutes on that just to kind of make you think about some of the little activities that they were doing and how they were actually, if used in the proper way, they're therapeutic, you know. So think about that in, let me stop share here. And then I'm going to share the screen again. And we're going to talk about chapter 10. And this one is important because it's actually, you know, something that you will have to deal with. You have patients that are coming to you or that you're working with because they have issues of some sort. You know, it may be depression, it may be troubles at home, it may be physical issues, limitations that make them upset, depressed, irritable. You know, if you're working with the older population or people who have dementia and Alzheimer's, they have anger that kind of comes out of nowhere sometimes that you don't even understand. People with traumatic brain injuries, you'll deal with anger issues. So it's something that you will be, you know, that you will end up having some experience with regardless of which group you end up working with. So we'll go through this stuff and talk about anger management. One thing that I note on this very first slide, can y'all see these okay from back there? It's kind of bright up here, but y'all can see them, right? Okay. We'll define anger. I think that goes without saying. We pretty much all know what anger is. And we'll talk about that there are some actual positive attributes to anger. It's, you know, we think of anger as a negative connotation, don't you? I mean, do you guys think of anger as a positive thing? Now, I've had cases in my life where, I don't know, let's say I was trying to change my wife's car tire the other day, and I don't know who in the hell put the tire on before me, but there was one lug nut that I'm talking about you couldn't move, and I'm a pretty big guy, and I was trying to get that thing to move, and I was starting to get blisters on my hand, and I was sweating, and I was getting mad, and it was at night. I didn't want to be changing the tire, but you know when I got it to move? When I got pissed off. I was mad. That anger came through, and let me tell you, that lug nut moved. Once I really got mad, and it shows you, like, that was a situation where some positive anger was not a bad thing, you know. It's not good that I felt that way, but sometimes it leads to good things if you get anger and can direct it in the proper location. You know, if I would have got mad and punched the window out of the car because I was mad, that would have been a little different result. So the rest of this, we talk about ways of dealing with anger, going to try to kind of shoot through this stuff. As we go forward, I'm not going to try to shortchange you guys at all on what we're talking about on these chapters, but I am going to try to bump, because realistically there were 21 chapters in this book, and all of them are pretty good. So I want to get through as many of them as we can. So I'm going to try to kind of go through these with a little bit of speed as we go through, so now if you're supplementing what I'm telling you in here by actually reading the chapters, you'll get everything you need to get. I can tell you that. So that part is kind of on you. So anger is just a range of emotional and affective states that involve varying intensities of feelings, from aggression and annoyance all the way up to rage and fury. And that's true. We know that sometimes we can feel angry and it's more just like being annoyed. And sometimes you can be angry to the point where, if I don't leave this situation, something bad's about to happen. Like that's when you're at that rage and fury stage. You are too mad. A lot of times with anger, there's a dissonance between irrational beliefs and reality. Sometimes once you get so mad that you're not thinking clearly, so basically you're having some irrational things that are playing into this anger and making you even more angry than maybe you should be. Something that's really ticking you off is, from someone looking from the outside, it's like, whoa, why is he mad about that? That's kind of what this is relaying to. That's where we as recreation therapists with our patients, sometimes if we see someone going through this and they have some irrational beliefs about, that are making them angry, that aren't really reality, and we can see that from our external view, that's where we have to step in sometimes and be that person to say, look, whoa, calm down. You're mad about him over there laughing. He was not laughing at you. That happened with my oldest kid at school. They changed the order of a line. My boy wants to be in the front every time. They changed it, but for some reason that was totally, it was for a safety reason or something. They moved him from the front back 3 or 4 spots. And then some kid 3 or 4 places back from him was laughing about something totally not related at all. My kid didn't like it, and I got a phone call that day. But anyway, I don't know where he gets that from. He got in a little trouble because his anger meter went high, and he reacted inappropriately because of a situation where he had irrational beliefs, thinking that this little guy was laughing at him. 2 teeth were lost that day. To give you a little bit of info. Anger, a lot of times, is interactional between different people, sometimes a person and their environment. It results when a person's sense of internal integrity or code of conduct is violated, or a goal-directed behavior has been thwarted. Okay, my 2-year-old, I know this is ridiculous. My 2-year-old has a tablet. Okay, some of y'all are just cringing, saying, "Oh, I can't believe he's got electronics at 2 years old." He does. It's to help me keep my sanity sometimes. Otherwise, when I'm trying to get dressed in the morning before I get to take him somewhere, he'd be in there just yelling and going crazy. I can hand him that tablet, and then I can go dress, and he'll be okay. So believe me, there's some reason in there. One of these days, y'all will know, and y'all's kids will have a tablet when they're 2, probably 2. Just saying. Now, when I thwart his his goal-directed behavior of playing on his tablet, what does he feel? What are we talking about today? Anger. He gets very angry. He throws himself down. He tries to hit me. He'll do whatever. He gets mad because I have thwarted his goal-directed behavior. And he's mad at me because I violated his code of conduct by stealing his tablet. Okay? Anger. We think about anger. We know that anger is an emotion. It's a feeling. You have physiological changes. What happens when you get angry physiologically? Like what might change in your body?
Blood rate goes up,
Blood pressure probably going to go up.
heart rate increases.
Heart rate's going to go up. If it gets to an extreme level, you'll get that kind of fight or flight reflex where you get that little adrenaline burst, you know. Might even get shaky kind of feeling, you know. It can get to that point. Behavioral, that just depends on how you react to the anger. But most of the time when there's anger, especially in a strong amount, you're going to have a behavioral action that goes along with this anger. Whether it's a very appropriate one and you leave the area because you need to calm down, or you count to 10 and take breaths, and you know, whatever you may have to do, there's going to be a behavioral component tied into it too. Cognitive, when you're angry, now you got to think about the different groups we work with. There's going to be a cognitive thing. When you're mad, where are you feeling it? I mean, it's a cognitive thing. I mean, if your arm doesn't get mad, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Anger is a mental cognitive situation. How you react, and even the amount of physiological change you have, the behavior that you have in response to it, ties into what you do with the cognition up here. Whether you can say, okay, what would be the appropriate response for me right now? Whether you can actually do that thing, or whether you're capable. You know, clients that I work with at NMRC who were developmentally disabled, they didn't have that. If they got mad, a lot of them that hadn't had multiple training to be able to find a quiet spot, calm down, you know, whatever, their anger could I could be sitting next to them watching a movie and they could get mad about something that happened 2 hours earlier and they might punch me in the face. That was not a common situation, but I'm just saying, like, their anger would manifest at whoever was just the closest. It didn't even have to be at what caused it sometimes. So just know that how you react has to do with how cognitively the person is able to place that anger and formulate a plan for how they're going to feel better, because that's the key. You want to fix this anger and get rid of it. So what do I need to do to get rid of it? Is it acting out? Is it leaving the area? Is it talking it out with somebody, you know, where I can just squash it? There's a lot of different options. All right, let's talk about some of these positive attributes of anger. It can lead to personal and situational insight. You know, a lot of times you can look back at a situation and say to yourself, you're going to say, hey, did I handle that the right way? And sometimes you'll say yes, and sometimes you'll say no, and that's part of being a human. That's just the way it goes. But did you learn from that? When you think back on what happened during the last time you were just super angry, you can learn, especially if you do an inappropriate response, you can learn from that. Or you can learn and say, hey, I put myself in this situation by doing this. Had I not done this, I would never have gotten angry. So think of it in terms of that. Anger grabs other people's attention because it's unmistakably clear form of communication. Again, communication is not, that doesn't mean you have to be yelling, I'm mad, I'm angry. You're communicating it in what kind of way? Body language, your facial expressions, you know, things like that. You don't have to run around yelling, I'm mad, I'm mad, I'm mad, for people to know that somebody's mad most of the time. Now for me, I'll just be honest. For me, you'd have to be really kind of watching me to tell when I'm mad, especially if I'm getting very mad. You'll see like my jawbones will be clenching and stuff like that, but I won't be doing anything more. You know, I kind of just keep everything low key, and that's how I am. until I just get too mad and have to do something. Okay.
You have those people that's really bad, they do stuff extra aggressive, like slam the door super hard.
Yeah. So different people definitely have different styles, and I've had my moments. I don't remember how old I was. I think I was about, I was too old to have done this. I was about 15, 16 years old, still living with my parents. My dad had a dump truck. He used to work in construction. It was parked in the yard. I went up to drag this grill down from the top of the hill down to the bottom. And when I was dragging that grill, I had on flip-flops like a dummy because it was kind of a slip hill. And the bottom of that grill dug into my foot and cut my foot. And it made me very mad. And I did one of the dumbest things I have ever done in my life out of anger. I put that grill down, I flipped it over, and then I ran as fast as I could at that truck, and I buried my shoulder into the side of that truck and put a dent in it about that big around. At that point, the anger transferred to my father and then to my rear end. And I had to have a few things taken away from me, and so I hate to even share that with y'all, but I've grown up just a little since then. I don't run into cars head first anymore, but I learned my lesson from that one. I'll put it that way. That's how we were talking about. You can learn from your anger and your reactions to things. I learned that was very much not an appropriate response for me to do because I was angry. Anger can enhance one's ego, boost your personal competence, and increase your self-esteem. That's a situation, what I was talking about, like the lug nut trying to change the tire. That fits with this statement right here to me. It was like, you know what? I'm mad. I'm turning into the Hulk now. I'm fixing to get this thing off. Anger can protect against domination, control, or being taken advantage of. When somebody sees you getting angry when they're trying to take advantage of you, in most cases, they're going to kind of throttle down and back off a little bit if they start to see anger. So that's a positive thing there. Serves as a warning signal that one's stressors are exceeding one's resources. You're getting kind of overwhelmed. You can see that bubble kind of, the boiling point is coming up. People can see that as someone starts to accelerate, especially in some of these special populations. You can see the growth of anger going up by just body motions, and they get up and start pacing, and stuff like that. There's your sign. That's a trigger for you right there to know, hey, we better get ready. Something fixing to go down. So warning sign for you as a therapist and for the team, it's positive in that way because you get that warning sign. Anger can serve as a warning signal that somebody's signals one's rights are being violated or values are being compromised. You basically get mad because one of these things are happening. So you don't agree with what's going on, or you feel like your rights are being taken away. Who likes that feeling? Nobody. It may be for, a lot of you, it might be a case of kind of feeling disappointed, but that's kind of a form of anger. Small, just the tiniest start of anger. I get pretty angry when I feel like that's being done to me. It can signal key relationship problems, like when the significant other is doing too much or too little. That can be positive if it's handled in the proper way. It can be negative if it's handled in an improper way. And we all know that when we're talking about a significant other and you're frustrated with them, your significant other can see that you are becoming frustrated and angry, and that may lead to productive conversation, a change of behavior on their part. Something constructive can sometimes come out of this. It encourages exploration of new approaches and options, from job changes to divorce. That sounds kind of yucky when you think of, we're throwing divorce up here, but if you get angry, sometimes you realize that, hey, I'm in a situation that can be better. I'm in a job, they're taking advantage of me. After a while, you start getting more mad and more mad. And that can be the thing that clicks and makes you look for a better situation. Same thing with home life, marriage, whatever, as they have divorce on here. You start building up, you start seeing themes, you start seeing that you can find a better situation, and your anger is what drives you to take that step. Anger can help one fight disease if managed well. Okay, that's kind of a difficult statement, but what it's saying is it gives anger. I'm angry that I have cancer. I'm going to beat this cancer. Like, you get mad at it. You become determined. So your anger becomes determination. And that's the way I kind of look at that statement there. It encourages efforts to correct injustices, to improve someone's life and the lives of others. If you become angry about, a lot of times, okay, I've said it before. I can't believe that I even have. But the R word, sorry, don't like it. I worked with developmental disabilities for years and years, and when I hear the word retarded, it makes me mad. Sorry. So, here's a situation of this. Went to a concert one time, a Ron White concert or show, comedy show. And we were given tickets by a friend. She gave us these awesome tickets right up front. But she had also given tickets to one of her best buddies who is I think she was a nurse. And she had Tourette's of the most substantial kind I have ever seen in my life. She was barking and yipping and saying the F word and making vulgar noises. And I'm talking about it was constant. And first off, can you imagine that? How can she hold a job? How can you, would you not be super embarrassed, upset, and frustrated all the time, knowing that you're just constantly, yipping like a dog or making animal sounds or fart noises or whatever? She was doing all kind of things. And I'm not going to lie, at first it was all I could do to keep myself under control, because it was literally comical to me to just try to be sitting next to that and pay attention. I couldn't even listen to the show. However, I got to talking with her. We were sitting right there next to her. Very sweet lady, very well intentioned. At that point, I got to where all I felt was, not in a bad way, but I felt sorry for her. I was like, her life every day having to deal with this is so, that's an unfortunate circumstance. She makes the best of it, and I could tell that by her. She had a good personality and all that. Okay, to get back on track and what I'm getting with here, this bottom one, it encourages efforts to correct injustices, to improve one's life and the lives of others. There was a group sitting behind me, sitting directly behind her, that were like messing with her. Like, she would have one of her tics and they would say something to her, and then they started laughing and they were making fun. And I sat there just kind of taking it in. And then a couple of them went to the bathroom. And when they went to the bathroom, I decided that I would go to the bathroom too. And we had a little chat about how I expected them not to continue with what they were doing behind me, or that we would have more of a problem. I got angry because they were doing an injustice to this lady who was there to enjoy her night. So anger was a positive situation in that case. I took up for her because they made me mad. Anger's not always bad, y'all. So there's some different approaches to dealing with anger. You've got expressing, and you know what all of these are. You know, that's where it's apparent that you're mad. You tell somebody you're mad. It's all over you. Suppressing, that's kind of me. I'm quiet. I sit there. I just, take some deep breaths, try to stay calm. I suppress it for as long as I can. And then there's calming, where people actually, learn, and this is something that's learned and kind of practiced and worked on, and you get better at, if you really work at it, at calming yourself when you are angry, thus having more appropriate responses to anger. That's something we can help our clients really work on, is having them choose the proper approach to deal with their anger. There's some times where they may need to express to us, hey, I'm angry, I'm mad, this is why I'm mad, and then we can try to take care of the situation. There's some times where we may be in a public place and we don't need them making a big outburst, and they need to kind of suppress that and know that they can't just blow up in the middle of a restaurant. Okay, we teach them those sorts of things. It may be after they do it one time that we have to look at them and say, okay, we can't be doing that, or I'm not going to be able to bring you on more trips, something like that. And then calming, that's something that we can definitely work with, where if we have someone who has trouble with anger being kind of a repetitive issue, we can start, some of that behavior modification that we've talked about, and helping them find a quiet place, or helping them find some coping mechanisms that are going to help them to deal with their anger and calm themselves down, get past that point. That's our goal, and that's where we as a recreation therapist can actually really help them. So there's some different approaches that are here. We've got cognitive behavior approaches, self-awareness, some things that we can do to help our people work on that might be having them even write something like an anger journal, where they write about their feelings. That's an appropriate expression of their anger. It's not hurting anybody. It's getting it out there. They're taking the time to process what happened, what made them angry. So that's kind of a good idea. Appropriate avoidance. That's what I'm talking about, where you distance yourself, you take a little time out, calm down. Relaxation, that's a situation where we want to focus on helping them calm down, gain control, and cope with the anger that they're feeling. Cognitive therapy and cognitive restructuring. We work to alter anger-provoking cognitive appraisals. So when I'm saying that, let's put it into some easier words. We try to help them to not be so angry, to think of things in a more positive light, as to not get so angry over some things that may not be as anger worthy as they are letting them be. That's what that one is kind of all about. Silly humor. You think that's crazy, but some good silly humor at the proper time, that can totally change someone's mood, thought process, just get rid of the whole thing right there. Sometimes it may even be a case where you can make fun of the situation. Like, look how mad you are at this. They weren't even laughing at you. You're flipping over tables over them laughing at a joke that he told them. Like, you can magnify a situation until it becomes silly and funny. And the person realizes that, hey, yeah, I was being kind of crazy, Problem solving, what you do, we need to think about some viable alternatives to inappropriate anger outbursts. We think about, when you're feeling this way, what are your desired consequences? What do you want to have happen? What's going to make you feel better and get rid of this anger? So you're looking at things like desired consequences. Communication, assertion, and conflict management skills. This is basically all about finding replacement skills for inappropriate anger responses. And then there's even counseling. Again, we talked about counseling. It was on the test. We are not counselors as recreation therapists. We can provide some basic counseling techniques, which is basically just talking with our people and trying to help them in a positive manner. Having their best interest at heart, using the information that we have and the training that we've gotten, the experience that we've gathered to counsel them on some things that we've seen be effective before. So we can discuss anger issues with them. We can try to design and set up some successful solutions for them when they're angry. That would be kind of some things that we could do during a counseling situation. All right, there's some things here where we can do activities sometimes in recreation that are all about relaxation. I could come in here one day, I mean, y'all would probably like this. Like I could turn off the lights. I was like, okay, guys, we're gonna work on just some calming activities right here. I want you all to close your eyes. All right, now I want you to think about your favorite place. And I talk in like this calm voice, might have a little music playing or something like that. If you've got a group who is uptight or a person who is kind of uptight, you could give them, you might feel silly. I would feel silly doing that even with you guys. But you would see that if I went through a whole thing of that, you know, like, okay, now you're in a hot air balloon and you're looking at your favorite place and you're eating your favorite food and you're saying all these positive things and you're getting that anger out. You're putting them in their happy spot. It could be strictly about relaxation, you know, through like meditation type situation like that. I've done that before with groups. It actually works pretty well. I've had people fall asleep doing that. I've been in conferences where people did that, and I actually enjoy it when they do it. The thing that we've all heard about, number 2, count to 10. That gives you time to process. Some people need to count to 50 because they don't have time to process and make an appropriate response in 10. But the point of it is, this counting to 10 keeps you from that snap reaction of I'm mad, you know, I'm going to punch you in the face. Or I'm going to flip over this computer because I'm mad. Count to 10, calm down, take some deep breaths. That's something that we can help our people with by giving that as an option. Walking away, you know, we're talking about anger here. Hard to do sometimes. Sometimes it's the best option. Sometimes, you know, especially if you're prideful in a lot of ways, who has a hard time walking away when they're angry? Who is good at it? See, that's a pretty even split. And you know, for me, it's like what I said. I know that, and I'm a grown up now. I can't get mad and do something stupid. You know, the best case for me, if it's possible, would be for me to just get away from the situation that's making me angry, because I don't want to do anything that I would regret later. That happens with me and my kids sometimes. You know, I've told my wife, look, I'm not trying to leave them with you, but I gotta go in the other room for a couple minutes. And it happens, you know, because they'll get me that mad by just not listening to me or just directly defying what I'm asking them to do. And I'm getting more mad than I should. And I don't need Child Protective Services coming to my house. And yeah, I mean, you know, if we get to that point, I need to step away, walk away. A good coping skill when someone's angry, just flip the script, do something else. Change what you're doing. Sometimes when somebody is not, we talked about how we want our people to be successful with the things that we are giving them to do. Okay, bought my 5-year-old a Lego set the other day. His older brother loves some Lego sets, little Minecraft Lego sets, and he puts them together like he does it 3 times as fast as I could, I promise. Number one, I don't really read instructions, so that's probably the difference. He reads them and follows the little steps, and he puts them together like that. They have little moving parts on them and everything out of Legos, which is pretty amazing to me because mine didn't used to do stuff like that when I was a kid. Anyway, he loves that stuff. We didn't want to get him a Minecraft Lego set without getting his little brother a Minecraft Lego set. So we got him one. Cooper sat there and whipped his together in about 10 minutes. I'm talking about it was like 500 pieces. Caleb, my 5-year-old, he stuck 2 or 3 things together and slapped them off the table, and he said, "This is too hard. I'm out of here. I'm never doing this again." He was angry. So what did I do? I went and found him something else to do and said, "Hey, we're going to get Cooper to help you with this. I'll help you get it together. But for right now, there's no need for you to be mad. This was a gift. We did this to make you happy. Let's go do something else." I didn't get on to him for what he did overly. I said, "You're going to have to pick that stuff up." But, other than that, I didn't get on to him. We did something else. And it got him out of that bad mood because the whole goal with us giving him that was to make him happy. Not to get him angry, but it made him angry. So he needed to do something else. People need to realize when they're angry, sometimes they need to ask for help, especially if you're frustrated like he was with the Lego set. He couldn't put it together. He could have avoided being angry by asking, "Hey, Cooper, can you help me do this?" And hopefully he would have helped him, and then he wouldn't have gotten angry. So that's a situation of that. Rethink the situation. That's where we talk about how a lot of times, if you really think about it, we may be angry about things that shouldn't be making us as angry as we are. Period. And if you take the time to really think about it, most of the time that's the case. You're more angry than you really should be. That's just human nature. Using humor, that's always a good situation. Now, sometimes somebody is angry enough that humor is just going to do what? Make them more mad? Yep. They'll think you're trying to joke. They're like, "No, I'm serious. I'm mad. I'm not playing right now." But in certain situations, if you can use humor, that is a good way to restructure the way that somebody is going to, refocus from their anger. And then be assertive. That's where, I've told y'all that sometimes as a recreation therapist, we're their friend, but we also need to have a boundary where they need to realize that, we're there for their own good, and the things that we tell them, they need to listen to what we're telling them, basically. We want to build a relationship with them, but sometimes we have to be assertive, and we have to be the person that says, "Look, calm down. Come here. Let's come talk with me." And I've had to literally, now I'm talking about the developmental disability group again. I've been at Special Olympics and had someone start totally acting out at an event. I didn't know why they were mad, but it was apparent that they were mad because they were doing inappropriate things. And it took me being assertive. Now, I didn't snap him by the hair or the ear and pull him out of there, but I came up and I got him by the arm and I said, "Come on, let's talk." And we went to a little quiet area, and I was assertive. I asked what was going on. I asked what was bothering him. I asked what would make him feel better. And you know what? We got through that, and we went back and he finished his event. Because I was assertive enough to take him away from the situation, talk it through, and talk him through this into some coping skills, basically. All right, we talk about in a lot of these some research outcomes. You know, there's been research done on all these things with recreation therapy. You can find them in journals and things like that. Programs including anger management, empathy training. What is empathy? If you're an empath, what does that mean? Yep, you feel others' pain. You understand where somebody's coming from. You're not one of those that doesn't care. Like, you really care if someone else is bothered. So there's programs that include anger management, empathy training, stress inoculation, and social skills training, reduced physical aggression in second and third graders. That was some training that had to do with those things, cut down, and they have stats to prove it, cut down on physical aggression in that age group. Okay. Cognitive behavioral therapy addressed anger management in children with Asperger's syndrome. Anybody know anything about Asperger's? It's similar to what? Autism. It's not the same, but it's kind of the same. But they used cognitive behavioral therapy to work with those patients. Social skills training and cognitive relaxation training. So we're talking about building appropriate social skills and cognitive relaxation, learning how to calm the mind, were equally effective in reducing anger in 6th through 8th graders. And they have documentation to show that, just in a study that they did. Cognitive behavioral parenting programs were effective in reducing conduct problems in children. We all know that, though. I mean, a lot of how children act has to do with what they see, what they get at home. That's just a fact. Or the people that they're around on a regular basis. That's going to affect the way that they react in situations of anger and things like that. Okay, as far as applying this to therapeutic rec, when we're talking about trying to deal with anger in our clients, and like I said right up front, you will deal with people who have anger issues. You will deal with people who have, let's think for a second. Who are some groups that we may work with that you may think would deal with lots of anger issues?
Addicts.
Addicts, yes.
People with certain mobility and handicaps, like probably people in a wheelchair, especially if something really recently put them.
If it came later in life, yeah. Think about that. You're living a normal life. You have a four-wheeler accident, break your neck, or a car wreck. Now you're in a wheelchair. You need total care. You used to be totally independent. Would you be angry? I'd be angry every day. And the people that are able to, and you see this in like Facebook posts and things like that, you see people who have gone through those things and are still able to be positive, and how they can do that, and thank God for everything that has happened and the journey that they're on. And man, I give them props for being able to do that, because it would be very hard. And if I was in that situation, maybe I could get there. But right now, it would be hard for me not to be laying there thinking, why me? What did I do to deserve this? You know, I would be angry. So definitely. Anybody else come to mind? I've talked about how traumatic brain injury patients, a lot of times they have injuries to a portion of the brain that is going to control reactions and emotions. Sometimes they have emotions that don't necessarily fit the situation. They may be angry at times they shouldn't be angry. Really nothing to be mad about, but they're angry. People with physical, mental disabilities. somebody with a mental disability, you know, watches me put a puzzle together in 15 seconds. They want to do the same thing. They sat down and they can't do the puzzle. What are they going to feel? Are they going to get angry? Possibly. I mean, or they may just not care and get up and go do something else. But if they can't understand things, if they're not able to do things that they see other people doing, they get angry. What about somebody who is dealing with grief, say maybe the loss of a loved one? Are they more prone to anger? I would say so.
One of the stages of grief.
Yeah, it's actually one of the stages. They will have anger because they're in a bad mental place a lot of times to start with. What about someone in hospice care? You know, you're going to have one of two things. That person's either going to be angry that, hey, I'm fixing to die, or they're going to find that peace that you hope that everybody will, you know. Let's see. Those are some of the main ones that kind of came to my mind when I was thinking about it. But it shows you that that's a lot of the, you know, those are people that we could work with. And they're more predetermined to possibly, you know, have these anger issues than anybody can. They don't have to have any specific or fit in one of these groups that we just talked about. Anybody can have anger issues. Some people are more prone to anger than others. That's a fact. And we all know that. We know people that are very easily angered. So a complementary skill set targeted in leisure education programming. What we're doing, basically, we're giving them a skill set using leisure as a coping mechanism for appropriate response to anger is something that we can do, and that goes through leisure education. We're teaching them some new options. Kind of get that one, what I'm talking about? Anger coping program used by therapeutic recreation specialists in the treatment of traumatic brain injury population. Again, like I said, that population has been shown to have anger issues a lot of times that don't necessarily jive with the situation that's going on. And then there's the summary. We talked about all this stuff. This is good things for you to look at before we have tests, things like that. I'm not going to read through the whole thing from you. I think we covered it pretty well today. I was actually going to try to jump into 11 a little bit, but that was more than enough for today. So we're going to stop. So I'm going to stop the share. Now, give me 1 second before you start running off on me. Don't forget, when is the video due? So if you hadn't thought about it, you hadn't found somebody as a victim, as your person that you're going to work with, you might want to work on that and be thinking about a recreation therapy activity. I don't have to approve it or anything like that. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant. I just need you to be able to look at those directions that are on there, cover the things that are there. It's pretty self-explanatory how it's put on Facebook. So just get that done by the due date. Don't forget that. That's important. You at home, don't forget that if you're still with me. So I'm going to end here. Next chapter, we're going to jump right on into next class, we're going to jump right into chapter 11. Like I say, I'm going to try to